Well, we're on board the Grand Canyon Railway on our way out to the Grand Canyon, and this is sort of ancillary. We're actually on our way to Scottsdale to the NMRA convention.
Right.
This is really fun. This is the train that has forever run out to the Grand Canyon, and now it's kind of a tourist line.
Right.
And people can go out to the Grand Canyon. And it's way better than driving out to the Grand Canyon, because otherwise this place would look just like Yellowstone.
Right.
Nothing but a giant traffic jam.
Exactly.
For 50 miles in all directions. So this is way cooler.
This is fun.
A much better solution.
Right.
So anyway, that's where we're headed. The Grand Canyon on a train. How does it get any better than that?
Doesn't.
The Grand Canyon Railroad departs from Williams, Arizona, which is right on the old Route 66, which is really cool when you think about it. This whole network was built by the Santa Fe. Now, the railroad has several steam locomotives, but unfortunately, some time back, they decided to not run steam. They're now back to using one of those engines, perhaps once a month during the summer. So unless you just plain luck out or make special arrangements, you will end up riding behind modern diesel locomotives, which is what we did. The railroad also has a fleet of restored passenger cars. This one is a standard heavyweight car. They call this a tourist class car. They're the cheapest to ride on. They're not air conditioned unless you consider opening the windows a form of air conditioning. Personally, I do. It's way funner than air conditioning to ride down the track with the windows open. And the view that way is really quite spectacular. So old heavyweight cars are actually pretty darn fun. Now, some of the cars were built by the Pullman Company, and these are the second-class cars. They are air-conditioned and quite comfortable. This is one of the first-class cars. This is really nice. And these are the first-class domed cars. Now these are the best seats in the house. Now they do have onboard musical entertainment and the usual bank robbers, of course. Word of advice, don't say, "I hate it when that happens," because then the guy will make you play.
Oh, rule number one, most important, you must work the cameras. Loosen it up. Rule number two. Wait, what's the game? Jump on and hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Eventually, of course, you do arrive at the Grand Canyon. Now, Karen and I have a lifetime pass to all of the national parks. If you're over 62, you can buy one of those. And it's worth the money. The Grand Canyon is actually America's second national park. Yellowstone was first. The Grand Canyon became a national park in 1919. They'd been trying to make it a national park since 1903. There's actually a couple of houses here that were built before Grand Canyon became a national park. This is the Kolb brothers' home and filmmaking studio. They lived in the building and made nature films here, starting in 1906. It's a beautiful place, and it hangs precariously out over the edge of the cliff, 4,000 feet above the river. This is another photography studio called The Lookout. It was built in 1914, sort of a competitive studio to the Kolb brothers. It's typical to have thunderstorms in the late summer at the Grand Canyon. There was a big one brewing the day we were there. Well, we're on our way to the Southwest Regional NMRA Convention.
Wow.
This is because they invited me to be the keynote speaker.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I thought everybody knew better than that. So I'm going to go in there and embarrass myself in a whole room full of people. Should be sort of interesting, and I might, if the speech doesn't turn out to be completely dreadful, I'm going to stick it in a dark corner somewhere on the page so you can watch the whole dreadful thing and just cringe in embarrassment for me as I blather on. But I'll hide it somewhere so you have to go looking for it. It'll be like an Easter egg hunt. But anyway, that's what takes us to Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're going to be down there doing the NMRA convention, and NMRA conventions are always a good deal of fun. So what normally goes on at an NMRA convention are contests. You have some photography contests, you have some model building contests. The competition here in Scottsdale was just frankly brutal. Al of the O-Scale guys did show up with some of his models, and instead of walking away with the whole thing, which is what usually happens, he didn't even place in some categories. Now at conventions they also have layout tours and some other railroad events. They sure as heck did at Scottsdale, and we're going to be covering a bunch of these over the next few weeks. So watch for that. Now this is the layout of Frank Baker. He calls it the Morristown and Erie Railroad. It lives in its own building out behind the house. It started off as a sort of guest house, and it turns out the guests were all HO scale model trains. So those are pretty good guests to have. Now, it's most common to see railroads model that are the local railroads, but in this case, it's half a continent away.
It is a New England-based railroad called the Morristown and Erie. It is basically reminiscent of my childhood. The names are all in the areas of New Jersey where I grew up, but it's a freelance. It's just the creative side of it.
There's certainly nothing wrong with doing a freelance railroad. It's your railroad. Do whatever you darn well please, is my rule of thumb, as long as you're having a good time and doing massive screwing around. Now, one of the things I noticed here is that a lot of the sections of this railroad have been torn out and redone. This way, these sections can become more and more detailed over time, and the whole railroad can be much more the railroad that you want it to be. Now, even on casual inspection, you'll notice a lot of pigeons have been pooping all over the buildings, so I had to ask Frank his opinion on poo.
I love it. And that's all I'm going to say about bird poo.
I see it all over the place.
Yes, it is. It's my mantra, or whatever you want to call it. It's just what I use on my buildings just to create a little bit of down home.
Well, only in model railroading can massive amounts of poo make something feel more like home. But then that's the nature of screwing around with model trains. It's all about doing what you want to do, and, that might just include making something look like you smeared poo all over it. As long as it's not real poo, I guess it's all okay. Now, a railroad like this one certainly lends itself to having operating sessions, but in this particular case, it's also just a heck of a lot of fun to turn it on and just let the trains go around all by themselves. Well, next week we're going to still be here in Scottsdale, Arizona, screwing around with trains and hanging out at the NMRA convention. That was actually one of the funnest railroad conventions I've ever been to.
That was. I enjoyed it.
It was an awful lot of fun.
Oh,
Great
man.
railroads,
Got to meet new
interesting
people
clinics,
and-
fun people
Right.
was the big
Right.
thing there.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget the swimming pool. That was fun, too.
The swimming pool was fun.
And we didn't fall in.
We didn't fall in. My
Yeah.
glasses fell in.
Yeah, your glasses fell, and then we went in.
We had to get a guy to rescue my glasses. It all worked out okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
It was a great convention,
Yes.
so we had a good deal of fun. Well, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. Blue button right down here. Click it. Doink. You're
There you are.
subscribed. Then you get lovely little notifications. You don't get any free bonuses. You don't get like, a candy bar for Christmas or anything like that. But you do get notifications whenever we post a movie.
Right.
And that's the real goal in
That's
all of this. And that would be cool. And it's simple. Blue button popping in just about now. Okay. And do visit the website, toymantelevision.com, and you can even go over to the Facebook page because there's one of those as well. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring.
No.
And we will see you here again in 1 week with some more massive screwing around. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.